All right, it is 7:03. We'll go ahead and call this city council meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doing roll call, 4 members are present. Councilmember Lundin is absent tonight. We have public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? If there is, you're welcome to come forward to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please.
First, I want to make sure, there we go. I noticed on the live feed earlier, you can hear you guys, but anyone at this podium or any of these side seats, you can't hear hardly at all.
Yep.
And then the closed captioning is also not picking up. I've noticed that on past meetings. Just something to be conscious of, because I'm a Turner, but yeah, it's really hard. Now this is good, but otherwise you couldn't hear anybody on the live feed tonight, and it was only a thumbprint picture till like halfway through, then it blew up to the big picture.
I agree. We need to point out, when the administration was talking earlier too, they didn't adjust their mics, and we're more conscious of it because
We have talked about this.
we've been asked about it many times, so I'm a lot more conscious about where my mic is and when I'm speaking into it. And I think we just have to point it out more when other people, either side of the
Sounds
bench,
good.
are talking.
I can project my voice, but this,
Right.
you don't want me to.
You sound great. I couldn't understand the last person that was up there real clear either because the mic wasn't adjusted in, and I should have asked her to
They're
adjust
pretty
it.
tall too, I'm at least a little.
Josie has something to add to this. I think she was looking at another option, if that's what you're going to say.
Well, actually, I was going to just make a comment on two of those things, if I could just let mayor and council and also everyone know. We did have technical difficulties with Facebook, and that's why it was a thumbnail. We did have city clerk working in that back room, which is, was fixing the problem, so thankfully to Ms. Strand, she was able to get that completed halfway through the meeting. Closed captioning, we do sometimes see comments on Facebook about that. The button is always clicked and toggled on for there to be closed caption, but unfortunately, and we don't know why, sometimes Facebook does it, sometimes it doesn't do it, but the toggle is always to have it on.
Yeah, well, even on the YouTube, you know, when you click the closed captioning, what I'm saying is it doesn't always pick up what people are saying.
Oh,
So it's kind of.
Nick, did you
Sure.
did you have something to say, Nick?
I'm just going to remind that you never say your name or address.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I didn't notice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I skip ahead. Cheryl Davidson, 512 Marion Street, Southwest.
Thank you.
I was looking through the agenda packet for today, and I noticed on the meetings that are up for approval, under the public hearing, the public comments are pretty abbreviated and not entirely accurate.
Under the public hearings,
Yes.
there is no public hearing
From
tonight.
last week,
Oh,
from
from-
April 1st,
Okay.
about the road construction project. Let me find it here. That's the agenda. It would be,
J1,
yes, J1. If you look down under, well, I'll speak to myself. The only thing it said is I asked if my driveway would be accessible, and that's not entirely correct. We actually did have a whole conversation about the payment of the assessment and how to do it versus the interest rate that would be accruing if they were to do it over a 10-year payment plan on the property taxes. And that didn't make it into the minutes, and I really feel it should be in there since it was spoke about. And this is the public record that people can go look at when they want to know about the meeting. So I'm not sure why it didn't get put in there along with the other discussion. Mr. Fiedler's and Ms. Ross's are also pretty abbreviated considering what they had spoken to.
I know this has been a question for me in the past because all of our statements, even council members, are all abbreviated. I don't know why that is, if we just try and keep it to the meat and bones, because there's a lot of things, we could have a 50-page minutes. I'm not opposed to it, but I have had that feeling before as well. So I don't know what we do about that, if we follow state, how does that work? What's the requirements for us?
The requirements are that we have minutes. It doesn't, state statute does not clarify exactly if it needs to be verbatim or summarized. The direction to staff has been that we summarize them from council in the past. Now, that's not to say that there couldn't be a policy written to staff to do them verbatim. If we were going to do that, I would recommend that we have dictation software, which we don't have, but that's definitely something that could be possible to make sure that we are, and then it'll be very imperative that everyone speak into the mic. But the directions to summarize.
Could we maybe just ask that we be a little more thorough on this and then make the change that she is asking for, at least on her section with, asking about the assessment, and we follow the assessment policy? Just adding
Yes.
that to it for simplicity or whatever.
Yep, we can have Ms. Strand do that, and then it'll come back around for approval at the next city council meeting.
Okay, does
That
that
sounds
answer your
good.
question?
Well, kind of. When you're talking about the standards of the minutes, and you'd said they'd gotten so abbreviated, I actually went back like almost 2 years, just spot checking different minutes. And when Mr. Gordon was in here, they were much more thorough. They weren't like verbatim, but you at least had a chunk of what, you don't need paragraphs, but at least so the idea is conveyed. I mean, my concern wasn't so much my curb, is that the public was aware they'd be paying interest on their assessment, because nobody knew that. And I do feel that's a transparency thing where they should know exactly what they're paying for, because paying $1,000 on top of your special assessment, like you had said, that just kind of grates the nerves, and I think people need to know about it.
It is standard assessment policy across the state, but I will say, I have nothing to do with these minutes, if that's what you're implying, since.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay,
just
okay.
saying this is where
No,
it was. I'm not getting
Okay.
confrontational with you.
Okay.
I'm just saying what I saw over the last couple of years of looking
No
into
problem.
it.
I
Have we
think,
changed who does these minutes, or has anything changed in the process?
I have done the minutes since I started here in 2018. I do them relatively the same.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, I'm just
I have
saying, I
nothing to
looked
add to
back,
that.
I went all the way back to when Mr. Wimmer was in, and, they were very lengthy, and I know you've been doing them. And for the most part, they're a good job. When I read this one, I'm like, that wasn't all that was, that I had said, and it wasn't, what I had considered the most important part of it.
Sure.
And then I did have a third question. I'm sorry, I'll be right off of here as soon as I'm done.
No problem.
I was doing the math with the special assessment versus the 2570 for 5, and then the grant area. I've been doing some math and some research, and I really don't want to get into it at this time because we won't know the final assessment numbers until November. Is there going to be a public hearing for that where the public can speak to it?
Yes, I believe so. Before, there'll be a final assessment hearing. I believe Jason could probably address that.
Yep, yeah, we'll have the final assessment hearing based on the actual numbers after the project. That was that November one we were talking about.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure of, because then I can dig around and
Sure.
either I won't have questions or I will. But that's it. Thank you.
Sounds great. Are you okay with us making the changes to note that we talked about the assessment policy, and is there a specific way you'd like to?
I would like it specifically said in there that the policy is to have the interest rate plus 1%. I
Okay.
feel that is something very important for
that
the
is the
homeowners
policy.
to know.
Yeah, that's the policy,
That
so.
is the policy. I do have a copy of
Sure.
the policy.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
that's fine. Thank you for coming up and speaking on that. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we will close the public comment, and we will move to adopting the agenda. Are there any changes or additions?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have one change to one of the resolutions on the consent agenda, which is L5, and that is to include parcel ID. We were waiting to hear back from them, and we did. So parcel ID 16.147.0010 in the amount of $9,650 be added to resolution of L5, please.
Okay. I'm good with that. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda with the change mentioned?
Motion to approve with recommended changes.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Heeman, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have proclamations. There are none tonight, as far as I know. City Council meeting minutes, April 1st, 2025, and we had just discussed the one change, which we will most likely make, and are there any other changes or corrections that you guys noted
Motion to approve?
with the changes?
Either way.
Yes.
You have to
With the
make them-
changes, sure.
Okay, with the changes, okay.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Peterson, second from Councilmember Holmgren to approve the minutes with the changes noted previously. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Announcements, Sandy County Board of Equalization meetings, Monday, April 14th, 2025, through Friday, April 18th, 2025. City offices are closed Friday, April 18th, 2025, in observance of Good Friday. Parks and Recreation Board meeting Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 6 PM. City Council meeting Tuesday, May 6th, 2025 at 7 PM. And the Economic Development Authority Tuesday, May 6th, 2025, immediately following the City Council meeting. Are there any council committee reports tonight? I have a couple. It's not really committee reports, but there has been a lot of ribbon cuttings around town. Northern Lights Toys was one that I attended, as well as Dana's Bookstore. And today was the ribbon cutting at Delightful Acres Weddings and Events. Those businesses are going to be great assets to the community. I'm very excited for those. If you're looking for an event space, Delightful Acres and Weddings has a very nice space that they put a lot of work into. That was great to see today. Some new ownership there, so I think that'll be well suited for the community. Dana's Bookstore seems to be very well received so far. I know she's very excited to be here, and Northern Lights Tools is also excited to be here and out of his garage, so he has a little more space.
All right. I had a BMX meeting yesterday. It was kind of a boring one. They're going through their SOPs and SOGs and just realigning each board member's job titles and duties. And so, there's a lot of that joint powers talk. So that's all that happened there.
No other reports? All right, then we'll move on to item K1, ordinance to consider amending Chapter 227, parking and storage.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we had discussion on amending Chapter 227 ordinance to allow for some no parking designations. One of them was along the east side of Third Avenue Northwest between Heritage Boulevard and Unity Boulevard Northwest. This was on request of the school to alleviate some of the congestion off of Third. And then as it related to the project, Sandy Hills Rehabilitation Project, no parking along the north side of Dogwood Street Southwest from Whiskey Road to 6th Avenue Southwest, and along the north side of Birch Street Southwest from Whiskey Road to 6th Avenue Southwest. This ordinance has been posted for the required 10 days.
Any questions or public comment on this? If anybody here has any opinion on that, I'd let them come forward.
Glad you asked that. I was going to suggest when we have ordinance changes like this, that we should have a public meeting on changes that, especially when it affects part of the community. I don't know if we actually do, but you,
It was, so during the open meeting for these development areas, it was mentioned and discussed, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, the open house that we had. So that was, public, and then
And
we
it
had the
was-
public hearing at the last 2 weeks ago.
Correct,
okay,
it was at the open house that it was discussed, but it was also on the city council meeting, the last meeting,
Okay.
by resolution, because of these are state aid project requirements. And so that resolution was passed, but it also needs to be put within the ordinance. The Third Avenue request, that didn't have a public hearing attached to that one, and that was a request heard at the committee of the whole meeting.
okay.
And I did personally go out and talk to two of the neighbors there, and they were, the two properties right there were in favor of it. So,
Perfect.
I think, good question, though. If there's ever any input on anything, we would love to hear it, and I would like, maybe we have to send out another letter for stuff like this, I'm not really sure. But I wouldn't be opposed to it, just everything has a cost and a time.
Right. Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve unless there's further discussion on it.
Nope. Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Heeman, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I think that's great. That's gonna solve a few issues in
I do
one
too.
strike for everybody, so. Item K2, resolution to consider approving special event permit for Walk for Life.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry. A special event permit application was received by Lex Specialty Clinic for their annual Walk for Life event. This event will take place on Saturday, May 17th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a one-day event. The Walk for Life will be held at Bluebird Park, utilizing the walking paths to the sidewalk and an estimate of 1 mile on the Cambridge-Isani Bike Walk Trail. They have reached out to the city of Cambridge, and there are no conflicting events. They will be using the Bluebird Park shelter and have completed an application to reserve. An estimated 50 to 75 people will be in attendance of this event. Parking will be in the lots at Bluebird Park. They will be utilizing the restrooms and trash cans on site.
Okay,
The applicant is here for questions.
awesome.
Great. I'm
Do you guys
glad-
have any questions?
No, I'm glad we're seeing more events like this the last few years.
I do have a question for you, Josie. The cleanup deposit fee that we have on there, it seems like a lot of people have been asking to waive that. Is that been common practice over the years, or what is that for everybody that we always ask that, or is it just for this type of event doesn't seem to need it, or how does that work?
It's asked of everyone who applies for a special event permit. I'd have to verify, I think that it might be within the, well, it's for sure in the process, but I'd have to look to verify if it's within city code that states that. It's a request of any fees that can be waived by council, so I think that people have done it. I think on city property, as far back as I can think, they've been waived, and then some organizations just do it knowing that they're gonna get it back, but
Right.
I think it's great to waive the fees. I think, bringing events into the city, bringing more people in the city, I think it's a good thing all the way around for our business. I think staff has minimal time into it. I know they have to go through the process themselves to approve the permits because they have certain steps that are required to do it, but
I would like to add,
They
I do
don't-
think it's a good idea to have it in there and to allow people to ask for it to be waived versus removing it. Just in case if there was an event that there was issues at Public Works, it's to cover Public Works time to go after an event to clean up. Then council could make the decision that, yes, we want you to have the event here, however, we need to cover our costs if we have to clean up, so.
I agree. In those circumstances, yes. But most of the events are self-sufficient that we've been approving lately.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Holmgren, second from Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, resolution, item K3, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for the Isanias Farmers Market.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A special event permit application has been received for the 2025 Isani Farmers Market to take place at 510 Heritage Isani on Friday from May 2nd, 2025 through October 17th, 2025. Each day of the event will run from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. This new location is just north of last year's location. You can see on the attached map. Amoco Gas Station gave permission to park on their grass field and use their restrooms. There is an estimate 450-plus people per day in attendance for the event. Applicant is requesting that cleanup deposit and temporary sign permit fees be waived. Mobile food units are permitted as vendors, and the applicant will maintain an updated list of vendors throughout the event. Mobile food units added to the vendor list throughout the event do not require a mobile food license with the city if covered by the organizer's insurance coverage. And the applicant is here for questions.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Elizabeth Anderson, I live it's on the application, my address.
Yep, sounds good, thank you.
And so anyway, I just wanted to say that this year, like the other years, it's grown exponentially. And we've got more vegetable vendors, more meat vendors, because people are looking for healthy choices, and it gives them an economical way to get them, and we know that they're, sourced from the area. Also, it's good to support our neighbor's business and shorten our supply chain and support more local. That will help us out immediately. That will help us out as a community, I think, having our own food and everything. It's become a family destination. It used to be 9 vendors and people would go and get their honey or their maple syrup. But now I see a lot of young moms getting their wagons out of the trunk and putting their kids in them and taking them around the aisles and buying them little crochet dolls and having ice cream. So it's become kind of an event like that. And we've had, also there's a lot of commerce that's going on under those tents. We have 2 vendors who now have brick and mortars, and we were their first market. We also have a food truck that's in the best of Twin Cities that will be with us all year. And then our cookie vendors have gone. They've got a brick and mortar. They've got a straight truck for deliveries. They've got display cases. They have and they credit this market with really expanding their popularity and things. So, and then we've also had a food truck, or a meat vendor that ended up at the Maple Grove Market, which is a much larger market than us. But, so anyway, it's really going well. It's going to be successful, and that's all I have to say.
Great. And they do have permission to use the grass as parking, correct? And that's going to be allowed.
No, under our resolution, it's not allowed, and we'll have to make a motion to change that. So I guess, yeah, we need to change the resolution to be able to park on the grass. It says people are only allowed to park on a hard surface somewhere around here. Where is it? Parking during the event will be restricted to paved surfaces at this location. So we need to change that. There were like 3 different things I seen on this resolution that didn't jive with,
The hours,
we need to change the hours from 1 to 6 on the resolution. The original letter that we looked at said 1 to 6.
it says 2 to 6 in the resolution here, but the hours are 1 to 6, so that's
Yeah, we
incorrect.
Change that to 1 to 6, and then there was one more thing on here that didn't look like it jived with the explanation.
Time, parking, and signs,
Signs.
but that's already been.
I know the fees have
I
been
think that's
waived
it.
for the signs.
Right.
If we could get a site plan for where the signs are gonna go, it could be approved along with the special event permit. But since we don't have that, we generally
Right.
require a location and we need to have property ownership permission. So if they're not on that site, for temporary signage, we would need to have.
Can you explain to her, I know I had a discussion with her last year about signage for the farmer's market, and I know it was really important for the farmer's market to be able to draw off of Highway 65, and I realized that being at the farmer's market, it sure looked like they could pull a lot of traffic off of 65, and it looked like it was really helping the local communities. I mean, it seemed like Colburn's were a lot more full, their parking lot, and I'd love to see the liquor store averages on Fridays compared to years past during the farmer's market hours, because it just seemed like a lot of people that were at the market were heading in that direction to do shopping. What can she do for signage? What can we do as a city or as a council to help her be able to get more signage and be able to attract people off of Highway 65?
Are they able to just put a 4x8 out on that property outside of the state right away?
Yes, they'd be able to put a sign up there with
Yep.
either a temporary sign permit or through the special event permit, just so that we're sure that it's the location we just get people who put signs up where they're not supposed to go. So that's why it's not just, it's to make sure that we're protecting our property owners. But really, yes, it's a 4x8 sign is allowed for a special event temporary sign. If it's just up that day, then it doesn't need a permit. So if it's just you're putting it up the day of the event, it doesn't need a permit. If you're putting it up for months, then it would need just a temporary sign permit, and it can be up for a limited, I can't remember, I think it can be 10 days before the event or 15, I don't know off the top of my head. It's a certain number of days before and after the event.
I'm glad you clarified that, because even as a council member, I swear I need a attorney to help me interpret our ordinances sometimes. So she likes to put out a few flags promoting the market, making it visible so people can see the market coming from both directions. So she's not limited when I read the ordinance to one or two. She can put out a few out if she has permission from the landowners to do it, and it's just a 6-7 hour.
For the day of the event.
Just the day,
Yeah, that's
right,
all
it's
they're-
only the day of the event.
They're
Okay,
too
so-
expensive to leave out overnight.
You have clarity on that. There's another thing that was mentioned last year to me about the city's Facebook page, and the city still has a Facebook page for the farmer's market, and I don't know if I brought this up last year during conversation, and it has a following of like 2,300 people. I know that the neighborhood market also has a following. I don't know what you're getting up to,
2,000.
50? How many?
2,000.
2,000. I was wondering too, how proprietary is that Facebook page? And if it could be handed over to her and be the new administrator of the city's page and just change the logos over on it and try to help advertise the farmer's market a little bit more, maybe reach an extra 100 or 200 people. And if the city was concerned over maybe wanting that back in the future because of wanting to run their own farmer's market, that maybe there could be some language in it that says that has to be handed back, along with the one she already has. I'm just throwing it out there, see what you guys think.
Sorry, could you repeat what the question was?
Okay,
Oh, the
the
Facebook.
city of Isani has a City of Isani's Farmers Market Facebook page, and it has like 2,000 plus followers on it, but we are not using it. And I still think that's an active page, and if she could get control of that page so that she may be able to attract more people to the farmers market, because I know that it's not an event where they have a lot of money to spend on advertising. And if the city or the administration thought we could work a way to do that, maybe you could have mutual agreements that if the farmer's market ever went back to the city, you would get her Facebook page too, to be able to use to market the farmer's market. It was just a thought. I thought it would be a way for her to be able to reach more people.
I believe the reason why we still have the Facebook page is because it's tied to one of our very original accounts for the city. So it was one of our very first pages, so I don't think we can close it. We've looked into it before. And that's why we just put on there, like, go to the neighborhood market. And so that's our last post we have on there.
Oh.
I'm not sure what the policy would be like. We'd have to create some sort of policy. I don't know.
Okay.
What that would require.
Is it possible?
Getting into it does open a gateway because Facebook requirements for an organization like ours gives you certain permissions into certain pages. So we'd have to look into seeing to make sure that we're not giving away permission to be on our city pages. And so
That makes sense.
all of that, we don't want to open that gateway. We also have the same account as our police department's page as well. And so I think we need to be very cautious on how we allow other people outside of our
Sure.
organization to use these. So I think it'd be better for us to just link on that page, this page again, maybe at the beginning of the
That-
year and really get the promotion that way. If people are
Yeah.
still following it, do it
That'll
that
work.
way.
That'd be great too.
2 accounts might be too confusing.
Right, it would be, and I thought it would be, but I thought maybe there'd be a way for it to get integrated together somehow. But yeah, I like your idea, just put a link on there, anybody who goes to it, boom, will automatically see the new farmer's market, and you can make a disclaimer that it's a private market. What other thing
I
was?
do have an issue. I was wondering, is it possible for the city of Isanti to send their street sweepers down that road that goes nowhere It's actually called Northern Boulevard, the street that's attached to the church. I like to go down, because there's like some grass growing in the cracks and things like that.
Mayor and Council, I believe that's a private drive right now, so we wouldn't be able to.
It is a private road. Do you ever go over anywhere near there with the street sweeper? Or do you go on 5 to get down to like whatever that turn is, or you?
Not necessarily down 5 there, because there's really no curb there, but we do around the islands on Highway 65, and we go down 6th Avenue towards the liquor store and out towards O'Reilly's, all that stuff we do,
Sure.
going to the south.
That would be up to the council's direction if they thought that.
I could take a weed whipper down there.
What?
I just need a weed whipper.
Okay.
That'll take care of it.
It's a short road. I mean, a weed whipper and a good broom, and I think you could have that road looking pretty good.
Okay, any other questions from council?
So I'm hearing that the 10th whereas should be modified in the resolution where it currently states parking during the event will be restricted to paved surfaces at the location. That council is permitting the request to park on grass, is that correct?
Yes,
So we'll make
They
that
have
change.
permission from the landowner, so.
yes, it's in the packet you gave us.
So, quick question, is that just the vendors, or is that people who want to park?
Just the
Anybody.
people who want to park. The vendors will be parking behind their tents.
All on the grass, though?
On the grass, yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be an aisle of tents, and then their cars will be, they'll just pull in, set up, pull in, set up.
Do you guys know exactly where the property line is with your property that you're using and the north adjoining property?
The north adjoining property is also owned by him.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He
Tony
owns
was
both parcels. He owns both
in
parcels.
front of council one day, and yeah, he owns both parcels.
And I have permission under their parcel numbers,
Okay.
and then also from Amico, from this manager, from her, everybody to park on the grass. They were actually really enthusiastic. The owner was like, yeah, farmer's market,
Okay.
so.
And then the other clarifying thing I will make, so in the third whereas for the hours, I think there was some confusion based off the application versus what was permitted by the
Right.
multiple landowner permission. So if we could just get clarification, it's
Sure.
including setup and takedown, it's from 1 PM to 7 PM?
But at 11,
No,
11 to 6.
because, go
They
ahead.
come around 11. So,
Okay.
and the food trucks come at 11, and I invite them for the lunch crowd. And then the vendors start showing up like around 11 to set up, however much time they need. And then it starts at 1.
And I think, I don't know, I don't know where it's the city's responsibility to make the event coordinator responsible for her relationship with the landowners, because you probably, they know you're gonna be setting up an hour or two early, and
Yeah, I
of course
told
it takes a half hour, an hour to tear down, and,
I spoke with them when I talked to, of course I spoke with them when I talked to them. But I told them that it begins at 11, and they were all fine with that.
sure.
So I
I
think
just
that-
didn't, it was my clerical mistake. I wasn't thinking, and I didn't put in the proper hours, because I was just going from 2 to 6 from last year.
You just used the same letter
my
from
fault.
last year?
I just went 2 to 6, because I was so used to that from last year,
Sure.
so.
So with council's permission as well, that we can leave it up to the organizer to verify that those times are acceptable to the landowners.
Yes.
But the times that are reflected on the permit should be including all setup and tear down. So it'd be 11,
11 to probably 7
okay.
for some.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Make
would be
that
a
change
safe
in the
time, I
resolution.
think.
Okay.
And then that resolution will be approved after she gets permission or whatever, and that's clarified in the resolution.
We can clarify a whereas in the resolution that it is,
The events will.
would be
her
approved upon,
responsibility.
does the council want to
Takes so
get
long to
another
get letters, Luke.
letter from the business owner stating that they're okay?
No, I
Or
guess,
That there's a verbal,
yeah,
that the organizer has verbally,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, that's like the food truck thing, trying to get permission again, and for everybody, I could just see that.
Oh, yeah, I'm not responsible for
No, no. It was a discussion we had a while back about how hard it is to get permission from landowners, and then it can take a long time tracking them down, getting the letters and getting them here, and if you're a day late for the next meeting, then you'd be held different hours.
It took me two weeks to find the owners.
I do have a couple of questions. How has the history been with the farmer's market on cleanup? Has there been any issues
No
with,
issues at
with
all.
city? Okay. So that, I think, as far as waiving the cleanup fee, that's totally fine. And then just clarifying, your insurance would cover the food trucks and all the aspects of your event, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm okay with approving the special event permit. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, but
Motion to approve with changes?
I'll second that. Motion by Councilmember Peterson, second by myself. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you for providing that for our community.
Thank you very
Yes,
much. No, thank you
thanks.
guys for all your support. Thank you.
I love going to the farmer's market, so.
And I'm excited about how many entrepreneurs come out of these markets and actually do build brick and mortars, you know, and hopefully we can get one to come to Isani. I know the cookie guy that was there ended up opening up in Bram, and another person in St. Paul, but I think it's a great opportunity for the city to
Yep.
let these guys experiment a little bit.
All right, item K4, resolution to consider approving special event permit for Rock Solid Foundation Fun Run and 5K, 10K.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A special event permit application was received by the Rock Solid Foundation for their Rock Solid Foundation Fun Run and 5K, 10K event. This event will take place on Saturday, May 17th, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. For a one-day event, the Rock Solid Foundation Fun Run and 5K, 10K event will be held at Bluebird Park, utilizing the walking paths to the sidewalk and on the Cambridge-Isani Bike Walk Trail. They have reached out to Cambridge and have received permission to use their trail that day. Alcohol will be sold at this event, and the applicant has applied for the required license. They will be using the Bluebird Park shelter in the amphitheater and have completed an application to reserve. An estimated 100 people will be in attendance of this event. Parking will be in the lots at Bluebird Park and BMX parking lots. BMX gave permission to use their parking lot with the condition it is after their races. They estimate the races to end at 3 p.m. and the Rock Solid Fun Run event starts at 4 p.m. And the applicant is here for questions also.
So I did have a question that was mentioned in here about using the city's microphone system. Is that something that we have ever allowed in the past?
We've never had an event rent the amphitheater before, so this is our first official rental.
Really?
Yes, so
Holy
it's exciting.
moly.
So I guess
Yeah.
we're setting a precedent here to utilize that microphone system that we have out there. So it's up to your discretion.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, it's the people's microphone system.
I'm
They
shocked we haven't
paid
had a
for it.
rental on that.
Huh?
I guess I'm shocked. I thought we'd had rentals on that, but maybe other people have brought their own?
We haven't had many rentals outside of the city staff using it.
Okay.
Otherwise, we've had a couple of other events, I guess, but not specifically for the amphitheater to be used this way.
Okay. And with that, is there an obligation for them to put the items back? And what happens if something gets damaged? Who's responsible for that? Is that written in a contract anywhere? Is that just, we're just gonna have it, and if it happens, we pay for it, or how does that work?
They will be required to put everything back where it goes and lock up the amphitheater and return keys as well.
Okay.
Cool.
For the check boxes, it doesn't say anything about insurance. Did they provide proof of insurance?
They have to provide proof of liability insurance for this event. So yes, for the special event permits, I'll require it.
If you look on the, what we have here, none of the boxes are checked. So maybe there's a clerical error there. That was my question too. There's six,
Oftentimes, they don't apply for that. We do get the liability insurance, but sometimes they won't apply until the event is permitted also, and it has to be within so many days of the event. So sometimes you'll see events beforehand won't get it, but staff always ensures that we have all of those boxes checked prior to the event.
All 6 of them will be checked if we approve it?
Yes. they will
Okay, because
be.
none of
That
them are
makes no
checked in what we
sense.
have, 0.
I have a few. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, they completed the application form.
Oh, yeah.
And the deposit
I see
fee
that.
is being requested. Is that one being requested? Yes, they have the deposit fee. They actually filled it out a couple different times, so they might have just missed the
Okay.
front part because they had to redo it, so.
So all the ducks are on the row
Yes, they
on
have
the
insurance
required?
and everything, yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, well, I think it's great that you're bringing, an event to the community, so I would like to see us approve that, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion approved by myself, second by Councilmember Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. That is approved. Thank you. Item K5, resolution to consider approving a conditional use permit to change cell tower hardware.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mass Tech Communications Group applied for a conditional use permit to upgrade the telecommunications hardware on the existing cell tower at 501 West Dual Boulevard Northeast. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing regarding this on January 21st, 2025, and recommended approval stipulating the engineering documentation is provided and no work is done prior to the permit being issued. And that documentation has been provided and approved by the city engineer, and no work has been done on the tower. It is our recommendation to move forward with this conditional use permit for this facility. They'll also be required to pull building permits for this as well.
I just want to make a motion to approve and get this project
Second.
going. I want my T-Mobile service up to running 100%, so.
Motion by Councilmember Heeman, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Resolution to consider awarding the bid for 2025 pavement management project. Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So April 1st, we received bids for the pavement management project, the overlay project that we separated out. We received 6 bids, which is significantly better than we've been receiving in the past few years when we have it mixed with the seal coat projects.
Cool.
And we got good competitive bids. I believe that, we'd been only getting the 2 or 3 contractors that were capable of doing both, whereas now we got 6 bidders that were capable of just doing overlays. We did end up with the low bidder still being Aztec, the same contractor we've used a variety of times for this same type of project, so we know we have a good history with them and that they'll do good work. The bid came in about 80,000 under the estimated costs, so we're looking good in that front as well. And so we recommend awarding to them and moving forward.
I do have a question for you. That discussion we had about potentially opening up the mouth of that turn northbound off of Whiskey headed west. Were you able to get out there and see if that storm drain could be adapted to allow for a couple more feet or a foot or anything like that?
So I did look in it, and looked on our record drawings, and it is just a dead-end catch basin, so the whole thing could get shifted. Looking at the geometrics of it though, the radius is already at pretty much the largest radius that the county usually would use. So I don't know that they would be exactly for going to an even larger radius. And after I kind of drew it on there, even going from I admittedly don't have it in front of me. I'd sent that over a few days ago, but I believe it's at a 35-foot radius, which is kind of the biggest we usually would go on a county intersection like that. And if I even went to a 40-foot radius, it really only moved that like midpoint back like a foot or 2. And so I don't know that it's cost effective to do it, because if we touch it, we're pretty much gonna have to do that entire concrete quadrant, of concrete, because of the ped ramp requirements of the landing and how it has to tie in and things. And so it's possible, but it's relatively expensive.
Okay.
I could dig up what that price I came up with. I'd sent it to Josie a week ago or so, but
The problem, I don't think is with the radius, it's with the width of the road there, because you don't have, I just watched today, a RV pulling a trailer, pull through there, and his trailer dang near hit the stop signs, the stoplight because you only have like 11 feet to turn into versus most other turns of that off of a highway are more like 13 to 15. So I don't know if there's a way we can just push our section, not mess with the radius, but just have like if there's a creative solution there, because it is a problem. I mean, even with the long box truck, your tire is still up on the curb, even if you hit the car that's in the turn lane, basically, so.
Okay, yeah, I can look into staying out of the ped ramp and seeing how much we could
Okay.
try and widen our lane.
Since we're gonna be doing the project there anyways, if we can do it for next to nothing, so.
Well, it'll have to move that whole catch basin back.
Right.
Which, would be on the order of 3-ish thousand on itself, but.
Okay.
The rest of it, if it's just curb work and we stay out of the ped ramp, may not be too astronomically higher than that, but
Could you just maybe do just a surmountable curb? Even if you look at the curb there, it's worn down from people driving on it. Like the face of the curb is just beat to hell. Could we just do a surmountable curb or ask the county to do a surmountable curb when they do that project, just so you can actually drive, hit it without screwing up your
so
vehicle?
the casting that's on the catch basin, has the hood on it that has the opening. We'd have to change that out without a hood where it wouldn't catch as much stormwater. But also something we can look into if that's what you want to look into.
Okay. George, do you know where I'm talking about, or you guys know where I'm
Which
talking about?
intersection are you talking
When
about?
when you're traveling westbound on Heritage Boulevard and you take a right onto Whiskey to go, by Casey's, if you take a right there and there's someone in your turn lane, if you're driving a long box truck, you're not making that turn without your rear tires going up on the curb. Especially if you have a trailer or anything like that. I mean, I see it every day. I go through there every day, and that turn just isn't set up very well. So I guess I'd like to have a creative solution for that. I hate to see people mess up their cars on that, but if that's what it is, I guess that's what it is. So maybe go drive that and see what your thoughts are on it, and
No, I'm okay with taking a look at it and seeing what the cost would be. Definitely. I like doing things that make sense.
okay. As far as the bids, we have worked with Aztec plenty, and you're very happy with that bid, so I think it's a great thing, to come in under budget on a project, especially when it's, bid this time of the year, I think is a pretty good deal, so I would make a motion to approve, the low bid, responsible low bid on that.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Councilmember Peterson, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Jason. Item K7, driveway easement discussion to Isani Apartments and Isani Retail Center.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is regarding our roundabout project. We had identified from open house discussions and feedback that we entertained the idea of making the western entrance to the Isani Apartments and Isani Retail Center a two-way entrance exit versus just an entrance as it is. We drew it up. We made some easements that we would need to obtain from those properties. Got those documents over to the properties, and after they've reviewed them and discussed them, they both decided they don't want that to happen. They'd prefer to just leave it as is, at which point we just, if anything, are giving an update and verifying that you guys are okay with going with their request, and those changes aren't required for our project, so it would just be removing it from our project, and we just don't need the easements from them, and we can proceed.
Do you remember, I know we had a discussion about what was the total rationale behind it? Because it made total sense when we talked about it.
Sure, so right now, the exit is exiting fairly close to the roundabout. And some of the feedback was they were concerned that if there's any kind of backup at the roundabout, they're not gonna be able to get out. So we said, well, we could make a secondary exit on the west side. They just have to widen what's there. And you could then be able to exit and head west without going into the roundabout. After those discussions with the property owners, they decided it was gonna be more confusing to change it, and they didn't want to provide that easement to let us make that revision.
So right now, they can turn both directions when they come out of Subway.
Correct, well, out
So-
of the eastern
east side.
exit, you can go left or right, yep.
And you explained to them that they will no longer be able to do that. Everybody's gonna be forced to take a right turn.
Well,
Okay, I suppose they'll
you
just
go
do
around the
that, do the
roundabout. Right.
roundabout and away
So-
they
So
go.
that's the whole point, you don't have to wait for cross traffic, you just
Sure.
have to wait for a gap in
True.
eastbound traffic, and then you get to go. And so functionality-wise, I don't anticipate it having
Okay.
any more of a lag or delay, especially
True.
on those busy westbound days, rush hour time. When people are trying to hang a left and blocking traffic, that won't exist anymore because you can't. And so I'm not concerned about it functioning. It's just we were going to provide what they were asking for, and then they decided they didn't prefer it.
Okay. I guess-
Motion to rescind easement offer and amend project?
What?
Motion to rescind the easement offer and amend the project?
I'll second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 on that. Consent agenda. I did have something that I just wanted to mention. L4 resolution to close debt service fund 932. It's extremely exciting. It was, part of our late finance directors and our council's goal to be long-term debt-free. So this is another great item to get off our books. That means there's less long-term tax burden from debt on our taxpayers, and that's a big thing we've been pushing for. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Mike Betker and the rest of our city staff. Any other questions on the consent agenda?
I have a question on L5.
Okay?
Was there anyone else we were waiting for, or is that the parties we needed?
So that was that change to the agenda before you guys adopted it. We did get the last agreement
Okay.
signed for the dollar amount that we just added.
I thought it was 5 parties, but never mind.
Well, it was, and so
Just took 2 of them out.
we just took 2 of them out with those temporary easements on that last motion. So now it's
Oh.
just the 3.
Okay.
And with that addition, we got all 3.
Thank you.
And those values on that, those were all appraised values, correct?
Yeah, with one addition of what was discussed at that
Yep.
one session of what we're allowed to negotiate to.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we're good to go all the way around.
Yep.
Yep,
Motion.
That
the
was
last
quicker
step
than
to
I ever
approve
thought
it?
it was gonna happen.
This is the last step to approve that, huh? Basically,
Yes.
until we go out for bid?
well, so now that we have, once these get signed and recorded, then we're finally allowed to submit to the state for them to review the plans, because until we can check the box that all work is gonna fall in an easement or right away, they won't allow us to even submit. And so now that we're going to have the easements to fit, now we can finish the plans and remove that driveway and tweaks like that, and then we can get that submitted, and then, more or less kind of in the next month or so, we're hoping to be able to have submitted to state aid.
That's usually how long it takes for the state on something like this, a month, roughly?
Their review has been on the longer end this summer. This will be my 5th state aid submittal this spring, and they're more on the 6-week time frame. But, yeah,
Okay.
the sooner we can get it in, the sooner we can get in their queue and get approved.
Great job getting those all together. Like I said, way faster than I thought it was gonna happen.
We were worried about that.
Yeah.
Well,
What
I'm glad you
changed?
feel like it's fast. It's been 8 months.
Right, it seems fast to me.
It's faster than you
For-
warned us
for
of,
the
though.
speed government
Well,
works.
sure.
Did the parties say why they, what changed? Was it just the resubmission, or was it just the process got to where it needed to get to?
Process just got where it needed to get to. The last time we were talking, we were literally getting one of them to agree at that moment, and another one was going to get back to us the following days. And so we were at that stage, and that's why we brought it to you guys, because this is the stage of this game, that it's time to make these kind of decisions. And then this last one just had to go through their full legal process, kind of just on their own, came out at the same time as of today. That's why it wasn't that revision to this agenda, because they just
Great.
got back to us.
Glad we got it in as soon as possible.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Holmgren, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 on the consent agenda. Are there any other communications or questions from council or staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Peterson, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned, and we will pick up Committee of a Whole here in a few minutes. 5 minutes?